Well, a slow motion disaster is underway in Utah. The Great Salt Lake is shrinking. Satellite images show water levels receding between 1986 and 2021. You can see large sections of lake bed are exposed. In tonight's Weekend Journal, John Blackstone shows us why the water is at a historic low.
The lone kayaker on Utah's Great Salt Lake is capturing a developing climate disaster. Brian Footen from a company called Earth Views is using a 360-degree camera so anyone on the internet can see what's left as the lake continues to shrink.
So 30 years ago, we would have been over there along the side of the mountain, and there would have been a shoreline, actually, not a lake bed.
30 years ago, the Great Salt Lake covered some 3,000 square miles. Now it covers less than 1,000. With the water at its lowest level ever recorded, dust storms are becoming a major threat. Scientists from the University of Utah bike across the dry lake bed with instruments to measure how dangerous those dust storms could be.
The dust that comes off the lake is very visual. You can see this wall of dust, and it reduces the visibility, and people are very concerned about what might be in the dust that they're breathing.
Kevin Perry, a professor of atmospheric sciences, has discovered high levels of arsenic in the dust.
And arsenic is concerning for a variety of reasons. It can lead to lung cancer, skin cancer, bladder cancer, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes.
How does arsenic get into this lake?
So everybody's wondering where the arsenic is coming from. Is it coming from industrial sources? Is it coming from mines? And the simple fact of the matter is that every measurement that I took over all 800 square miles of the lake bed was high in arsenic. And the only way that that can happen is if it's naturally occurring and has gradually accumulated here in the lake bed over thousands of years.
Preventing arsenic-contaminated dust storms requires getting more water into the Great Salt Lake. But that's not easy with the West in the grip of a drought that's lasted 20 years. This is the Bear River. It's fed by melting snow from the mountains here, and it's the main source of water for the Great Salt Lake. But right now, it's flowing at just 15% of what it would normally be doing at this time of year.
Okay, here we go.
Joel Ferry runs a farm along the Bear River. He's also Utah's new director of natural resources, responsible for the state's water. On his farm, he's made big changes in the way he irrigates.
To make sure that there's enough to go around.
In his new job, he has to convince both farmers and city dwellers to treat water as a precious resource.
We got to figure this out. It's not going to be cheap, but there are solutions. We're creative. We settled the desert. We can make this work.
Not only to save the Great Salt Lake, but also to preserve a way of life in one of the driest places in America. John Blackstone, CBS News at the Great Salt Lake.